Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! This is a podcast based on a blog of the same name because we all get that pesky sense of deja vu once in a while. I'm the blogger in question and the moderator of this podcast. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For at Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. Have you discovered that we have been producing more podcast episodes? In fact, CPU, happily keeps growing, and we have several new episodes coming down the pike. As always, though, because the panelists and I have to get up from our couches sometime and have lives behind the podcast or engage in our super secret spy activities, whatever, the episodes will still come at irregular intervals, so subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes to stay on top of brand new episodes. We have several episodes already published discussing Downton Abbey, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Doctor Who, Orange is the New Black, and Once Upon a Time, and more episodes are in the works covering other shows, including a big retrospective about the X-Files, as well as a podcast about the upcoming miniseries, and hopefully many, many more. If you don't hear your show in this podcast format, though, check out the blog. I still write reviews, and I'm always seeking new podcast panelists, so if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello. We have a Facebook page, a Twitter, follow us at CPU Podcast, and an email address at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com. Of course, you can always subscribe to the blog and sign the guest book, or comment on posts you see. We love feedback. We'll even give you feedback about your feedback. We love it so much. Today, we're around the water cooler and discussing the first two seasons, with particular focus on the second, of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a serial television drama created for ABC by Joss and Jed Whedon and Marissa Tangerowen, based upon the Marvel comic and cinematic universe. S.H.I.E.L.D., or the Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division, is a fictional peacekeeping and spy agency in a world of superheroes and aliens. The agency's mission is to monitor and collect rogue supernatural subjects, forces, and people, and to control them. The division is kind of like the so-called Men in Black, but is focused on any fringe element looking to create the next Tony Stark, i.e. Iron Man, or Captain America, or Thor, without the natural-born endowments, or the cool suit invented by a rich guy. The show is set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, sharing continuity with the films and other television series of the franchise. The series revolves around the character of Phil Coulson, with Clark Gregg reprising his role from the film series, particularly the two Avengers films, and his team of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, who must deal with various unusual cases and enemies, including Hydra and Inhumans. The series was officially picked up by ABC in May 2013 and also stars Ming-Na Wen, Brett Dalton, Chloe Bennett, Ian DeCastecker, and Elizabeth Henstridge, with Nick Blood, Adrian Palicki, Henry Simmons, and Luke Mitchell joining in later seasons. The first season originally aired from September 24, 2013 to May 13, 2014, while the second season aired from September 23, 2014 to May 12, 2015. A third season premiered on September 29, 2015. The first season sees S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Phil Coulson putting together a small team of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to handle strange new cases. They investigate Project Centipede and their leader, the Clairvoyant, eventually uncovering that Project Centipede is backed by the organization Hydra, which has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. In the second season, following the destruction of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson and his team look to restore trust from the government and public while dealing with Hydra and the newly revealed Inhumans, people who possess special abilities. Coulson's work is further complicated by the appearance of another faction of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who do not trust his leadership. During the third season, in the wake of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s wars with Hydra and the Inhumans, Coulson begins a secret mission to assemble a team of Inhumans to deal with new threats to the world, while others, like the Advanced Threat Containment Unit, or ATCU, and the mysterious Inhuman Lash, are also tracking down members of the group. The show is set in a parallel Earth where superheroes and aliens of all type, as well as futuristic, innovative technologies are all possible. The show airs on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. on ABC. I asked a small but robust panel of fellow S.H.I.E.L.D. enthusiasts to gather around the water cooler and discuss the progress of the Whedons' latest venture. And I have to say, my fellow panelists are as enthralled by this show as I am, and I know they are itching to get started. So as always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed the entire series through Season 2 and are even up to date on Season 3 and may discuss sensitive plot points. So, for those of you who haven't watched any of S.H.I.E.L.D. and plan to catch up at some point, listen at your own risk, as there are going to be major spoilers. At this time, I'd like the panel to introduce themselves. Hello, panel.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fabulous. Okay, so we have one familiar voice and one brand new voice on the S.H.I.E.L.D. panel. I'd like to start with the familiar voice because she's kind of old hat at this thing.
That's one way to put it.
Well, I didn't mean it like old hat.
I know.
What I'd like you to do is identify yourself by first name and how you came to watch S.H.I.E.L.D. What made you start watching? How'd you find out about it? What kept you watching? And how would you rate your interest in the show? This is a Couch Potatoes Unite special question that seems to change every show. Don't ask me. So how would you rate your interest in this show? Do you watch it because S.H.I.E.L.D. is your life? You believe the show has purpose, it means something, and the agency is damn good, like Phil Coulson? Do you watch it because you're a dutiful soldier and loyal, especially to Phil Coulson, or at least maybe the Whedons, like Melinda May? Do you watch it because you would do anything to be part of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you're hoping it's a means to an end, i.e. that it will help you find your origin story, like Skye, now known as Daisy? Do you watch it for all the awesome fictional technology like Fitz, or the radical science, real or fake, like Simmons? Do you watch it with a secret agenda as a mole? You really want nothing to do with S.H.I.E.L.D. You're all about Hydra, like Grant Ward. Do you watch it because your wife or husband does, like Lance Hunter? Do you watch it because you want to protect those you care about and keep people safe, and you could always use a few tips, like Mac? Do you watch it in spite of the fact that your wife or husband does not, like Bobby Morse? Or you don't watch it because you're inhuman, like Lincoln Campbell. He's brand new. But I don't expect you'll answer that way.
Hi, it's Kristen again. I started watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back when it first started on ABC in 2013. I watched a handful of episodes, hated it, and I stopped watching. After a lot of people were telling me to give it another chance, that it got better at the end of Season 1 and Season 2 was way better, I finally caved into the peer pressure, and this past summer of 2015, I binge-watched all of Season 1 and all of Season 2 just in time to start watching Season 3 as it premiered. So needless to say, I hated it, and now I love it, and I watch it every week. My interest in the show, that's a good question. I'm kind of a combo.
I expect you all to be a combo of this, because these are kind of specific.
They're very specific. I'm going to say at first, I'm a little bit Melinda May, because I'm very loyal to the Whedonverse. I watched a lot of Joss Whedon's things. That's why I watched the Marvel movies, because he's involved. But I also watch it because of the fictional technology and the fictional science, like Fitzsimmons, who are also my two favorite characters. So I gotta go with them.
Well, welcome back, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now our brand new panelist.
Hello, I am Jen, and my story is kind of similar to Kristen's in that I started watching it not right away. It was like second season, and I had seen an ad on Hulu for it a couple of times because I thought, oh, that looks cool. Maybe I'll watch that. And then finally I, ventured into watching it, but they were already into their second season. And I'm the type of person that cannot start mid-seasons. Like, I have to start from the beginning and catch it all. So I happened to be on Netflix and saw they had the first season. So I watched the first season, and much like Kristen, I didn't like it. I think I watched the first episode like 3 times. Not all, coming back. I'm like, I gotta watch this. This has got to get better, right? It finally it was maybe towards the end of the first season, I started getting, okay, this is interesting. And then the second season was like, okay, I'm sold. I really, really like this. And, third season, yeah. I'm hooked. And I'm also a combination. Actually, probably the first 4 of those. S.H.I.E.L.D. is my life, but I'm the dutiful soldier May. But I also want to find my origin story like Sky/Daisy. And I like the fictional technology as well, like fits.
So you just love all of it.
Yes, I love it all.
All right. Well, that's quite a conversion process.
Yeah.
So as you all know, my name is Kylie, and I found Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in my annual pilot shop. For those of you who are familiar with the blog and the entries I've written on the blog about this, each fall season or summer season I go and look and see what pilots are coming out. And I saw in 2013 that Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was coming out and that it was created by Joss Whedon. And like Kristen, I am a big fan of Joss. I have watched every show he's ever made, including Buffy and Angel and Firefly and Dollhouse. And even though I wasn't as familiar or as caught up with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I thought, well, I'm going to give this a try. Like the other two ladies, I also had a bit of a sense of growing pains with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. In fact, I wrote a couple of entries on the blog about it. It did not start off well. I think that's probably a universal thing, and it was a little surprising to me that it actually kept going. However, maybe ABC was learning from Fox's mistake about canceling Firefly and Dollhouse, so it kept going, and I remembering those two other examples and how they kind of started off bumpy, thought, you know what, I'm going to stay with it. As long as ABC is going to stay with it, I'm going to stay with it. And I did, and it paid off, and now I love the show. If I were to rate my interest, I would definitely be Melinda May. I watch it because I'm a dutiful soldier and loyal, especially to the Whedons. But I also would say that I'm a Fitzsimmons as well, because there's a lot of cool things that you get to watch on this show. Lots of crazy science fiction stuff that totally appeals to that geek in me. So I'm totally into that. And now hooked, like my fellow panelists. So welcome! I just wanted to add, too, in line with what Jen was saying, that what actually hooked me was when I realized that Ward was Mole. That's what actually got me to continue to watch, because I thought he was the most cookie-cutter, boring character of the...
But he's so cute!
Yeah. He's very handsome! But he's totally the jock!
Yeah.
But man, get that scruff in there now that he's sporting for the Hydra team, and...
Yeah, now he's the bad boy,
now
so everybody...
I don't care.
I actually liked him in season 1.
I liked him quite a bit in season 1.
And when I found out he was the mole, I was kind of downhearted, like brokenhearted.
Am I bad?
But now I hate him.
I kind of saw it coming that he was the mole. He was a little too cookie cutter.
Yeah,
you see
towards
that
the end of it, I could, yeah.
I
kind of thought it.
Out of everybody, I wasn't super surprised. I mean, again, I wasn't watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when the whole Hydra reveal happened with Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I heard about that spoiler first, so I already kind of knew, okay, something's going to happen within S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh, hey, there's talking about a mole. Okay, it's probably this kid. So I kind of had it from a backwards perspective. I was out of order, so.
I actually thought it was Melinda May for a while. I kept thinking, I bet she's
Is it because she's so stern?
Yes, it is. And now I love her.
Well, and they did have some red herrings, too, that they were trying to point to May and to other characters being the mole. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Sky/Daisy was a very obvious first one, and then Melinda came in. But I wasn't surprised it was Grant.
Yeah.
Well, I was. I didn't expect... honestly, I didn't think mole until it happened. I was like, oh, he's a mole. That's what happened. So we kind of got that first temperature of what did you think about season 1. But let's kind of cover it a little bit. If you recall, I would say the first half of the season was kind of devoted to introducing us to what S.H.I.E.L.D. was all about, especially if you were the casual viewer who hadn't really watched the Avengers movies, then this was like your crash course in S.H.I.E.L.D. and all things S.H.I.E.L.D. And it also introduced the main cast, particularly the Sky character. She became very important very quickly. And then once Ward turned, the back half of that season was all about Hydra and how omnipresent Hydra was and basically S.H.I.E.L.D.'s attempts to stymie Hydra. What did you think about that season? What did you like? What didn't you like?
I think once the season switched to more of the Hydra focus, I think that's when I really started to enjoy it more. Mm-hmm. Even though I watched the first few episodes as it premiered a couple years ago, once I started watching it again, I did go back and rewatch those first few, and boy, were they painful to get through. I often found myself doing other things while that just kind of played in the background.
I did this. I did the same thing.
But so I mean, once it got to the Hydra reveal, I feel like that's when the stakes were raised. And yes, now we have all the background. We know what these characters are doing. We know what their objective is. Now here's their mission. I feel like it took a long time to get us to that point. I was happy that the Hydra storyline only lasted as long as it did because it was getting a little tiresome. I don't know if I'm the only one who feels that way, but it was a really good catalyst to get the series moving in the right direction.
I did not like Skye. She was annoying to me in the first season. It wasn't until her powers were revealed in the second season that I really like her now. But yeah, the Hydra thing was, I think, too, what kind of pulled me in was that because it gave them something to fight against. Because it was just, them looking for whatever they were doing, They weren't looking for Inhumans by that time, were they? They were aliens.
Them versus the alien of the week, kind of.
It was, but it was also
technology or something.
Yeah, remember that J. August Richards, Gun from Angel, played Mike Peterson.
Yeah.
So they were kind of after
that's right.
the people behind the clairvoyant.
Yeah.
And Reyna, she figured very prominently in that back half of the first half of first season.
That's probably why it was so kind of dull, is because that,
Yeah.
And then, like you said, with Hydra, then it got to be a little bit much. Then they could have, glad when they kind of backed off on that.
Yeah, because they took care of Hydra, and now Hydra's officially vanquished for now, at least.
Vanquished.
Yeah.
With quotes. Yeah. I have to agree with Jen. First of all, I did not like the Skye character for a very long time. In fact, I have a friend, I think we all know him. His name is Micah. He likes the show, and we talk on Facebook about it. And we had pretty in-depth discussion about Skye. And he was trying to convince me that it really was worth sticking with it. She gets better. And I was like, I don't see it, dude. I just don't see it. And then Season 2 rolled around, and like Jen, you were saying, I think that Season 2 got me to like her so much more, and maybe that's because of her origin story. I don't know. I also just think it gave her more of a purpose, whereas originally she was, the rising tide, the militant that they kind of roped in for her hacking skills, and she served no purpose other than to whine at Coulson a lot for a while and also be Ward's, whatever you call that, mentee, apprentice.
Officer in training,
whatever. Isn't it weird how he loves her and still loves her? How do you guys feel about that? Ward loves Skye / Daisy.
Yeah.
Still.
No, I was thinking, I'm okay with it. I can handle that. We haven't really seen much of Ward in a while, at least this season. He's only kind of popped up here and there. Yeah. So I'm sure he's going to be coming in, and that's going to be a big play in whatever his plans are. But for me, the weirdest part was when the Hydra agent with the face mask, and I forgot what her name was.
Oh, the agent, this is in Season 2.
Season 2.
The one who looked like Melinda May.
Yeah, because she had that, yeah. And then she was using that as a tool to pretend to be Melinda, but then she got electrocuted by Melinda, so then the mask permanently stuck to her face. So then she became Skye to try to win Ward's affection, and there was that whole scene that was weird.
Yeah,
that was probably the most awkward part of Ward's unrequited love for Skye.
I actually, in the first season, wanted Ward and Skye to kind of hook up.
Me too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that quickly faded.
Yeah.
But it did for a little bit there. I was like, they would be a cute couple.
It kind of seemed like once she dumped that rising tide guy that she was kind of, it was like, okay, this is where they're going to go. I can see, that's a bad idea.
Yeah. So I'm kind of glad that didn't work out. Now my thing is, I hope she kills him.
Didn't she almost at the end of
she did. Yeah. She almost did kill him.
So let's talk about Season 2. I know we're kind of hedging into it, and that's really where we want to focus today. We're going to talk about Season 2. We are going to hedge into Season 3. So again, for those of you listening to this podcast, if you're not caught up on the current season, major spoilers are afoot. But let's talk about Season 2. What did you think about that season overall? What did you like? What didn't you like? And how would you compare it to the first season?
Much better than Season 1. Can I give it? It was like almost a 180. I enjoyed season 2 right from the get-go. I don't know, the thing that was really hard for me to deal with was that as soon as Fitzsimmons were dropped in essentially the cargo container into the bottom of the ocean, they heroically escape. Fitz suffers brain damage or severe brain trauma, and then Simmons, she can't deal with it, and she just takes the first opportunity to go and spy on Hydra. While I liked giving Gemma more to do because she is one of my favorite characters, I felt a little betrayed that she would just leave Fitz after everything they've been through. They're besties, and there is that romantic tension underneath, which is so delicious to watch. That was probably my least favorite part, was that Gemma just hightailed it out and took a different mission, but I liked it for character development, so I'm torn.
Mine too. I was mad when she went to Hydra to spy. I'm like, how are you leaving him? I mean, and then I didn't like that he got brain damage. I did not like watching him like that. I don't know. I know it's fiction, but that character, I like that character. I really like
I think that's why it was so tragic. He's such an intelligent individual, and it's something completely out of his control. And he took the risk to save Gemma, knowing that may be one of the consequences. It's like, oh, you selfless man, but...
And I wonder if he'll ever get back to his old self. I mean, he's starting to. He's much better now. But
watching him now in season 3, I almost forget that incident happened, and he had to go through all of that. And brilliant acting, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He acted the crap out of that, working with... Oh, my God. I was very impressed. From a viewer standpoint.
Yeah, I have to say Fitz is my favorite character. I know a lot of people like Coulson and maybe have other favorites, but Fitz is my favorite. Fitz is kind of the awkward geek, and he's the one that's the most relatable to me. Even more so than Simmons. Simmons has, at least until this season, Simmons has had a confidence about her. She's a little bit more confident than Fitz. Fitz is so sweet and so gentle, but yet so brilliant, and I agree that it gave him a lot to do to kind of give him this brain damage arc. I don't know that I was bothered that Simmons hightailed it to Hydra. I think once that reveal was made, when I didn't know she was in Hydra, I was like, well, where the hell is she? But once I figured out that that's where she was, and Coulson does explain why they chose her for that or asked her to do it, I wasn't as put off by that. Although from Fitz's perspective, yes, they're fictional characters, but that's what's great about drama, is that it relates the characters and you want to like them as real people. I can totally see it from his perspective, and I would be upset because they're such good friends, and of course he loves her. They love each other. But I actually didn't mind the Hydra piece, at least insofar as... Well, let me ask you, how do you feel about the new recruits? They came on in season 2. Lucy Lawless had a little bit there. Xena, Warrior Princess, was the guest star and brought on these mercenaries. So we meet Hunter. We also meet Mac. They were once S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They kind of became mercenaries in the downfall of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then they picked back up with S.H.I.E.L.D. because of some joint mission where Coulson basically has to hire mercenaries because he doesn't have enough people. And then through the Hydra piece, we get Bobby, because she was also a mole in Hydra. She ends up saving Simmons' life. What do you think about these new recruits?
I miss Trip.
I miss Trip, too!
That's the first thing. I miss Trip. He was by far my favorite out of the 4 new recruits that came in season 2. And the fact that he met his untimely demise.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. When Skye got her quake powers, essentially, I was heartbroken. I was more consumed by the fact that he was no longer going to be part of the series. And, oh, look, Skye Daisy has powers now. That didn't matter to me because we lost Trip. He was my favorite.
Just to clarify, Trip actually came in at the end of season 1. So he was there even before.
Yeah, it all gets a little fuzzy. I watched it in such a quick succession.
That has to be
Yeah, but he's still considered a new recruit. He wasn't part of the original gang. But
no, he wasn't.
I felt like he wasn't there as long. I felt like he came in with Hunter and Mac and Bobby and.
Well, he was already a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, but he was working under a different CO, not Coulson.
Yeah.
And then when S.H.I.E.L.D. collapsed, everybody kind of coalesced under Coulson or under the other guy.
The other S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah.
I miss Trip, too, though. First of all, fine-looking man.
Yes.
Second of all, so flirty with Simmons. It was kind of cute.
It was very cute. Well, he was just a well-written, well-rounded character. He was written well, acted well, everything. I had no complaints about Trip, and I do about some of the other people on the show.
Jen, what do you think of the new recruits?
Well, Bobby, I like her. I used to read these in comics. That's how I knew about Sky's powers, because in the comics, obviously she had them, but they don't show her. I feel like she doesn't get enough time.
Bobby doesn't?
Yeah, I guess more so now in season 3 she is, but she doesn't. I mean, she kicks ass. Let's just say in the comic books she kicks ass. So I just want her to do more. I love martial arts. Part of the reason I love Melinda May is that she's awesome. But who are the other recruits? My brain is
Mac and Hunter.
Yeah,
Mac
Mac.
and Hunter.
Yeah.
I feel like they're starting to write Mac in a way where it kind of fills the Trip void a little bit. Especially when he was kind of buddying up with Fitz and trying to help him work through the trauma.
That's true.
I feel like he kind of took up where that would have been Trip's job. Hunter I'm really starting to like too. I like he's kind of sassy and he's a drunk sometimes, and his tension with Bobby, the whole ex-spouses is
but they're not
fun.
really.
It's fun, I know, but it's fun to watch their interaction. I feel like they were cast very well against each other.
He's cute.
He is cute.
Who's not cute on the show?
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
All very
Even Clark,
beautiful.
right?
Yeah, I do like Hunter.
I like Hunter too.
Yeah, I do like him.
I like him. He's kind of the everyman, I think. He's the audience relator, so he just says what we all think. But he's also a little angry in life.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, the only downside to having these great new characters on board is the fact that now our original core group, they're trying to divide the time and trying to give everybody ample story time and ample storylines and development. And I feel like it's getting a little, to use Kylie's word, clunky. It just seems like things aren't quite balanced out yet. I really want to see more of character A, but they're focusing so much on a different group. It takes us a while to get back to the first group, and I don't know. I hope that it evens out and levels the playing field. I'd like to see all them go out on missions together and not just in these little groups.
I agree with that. Definitely. You watch the show and you get hooked to a certain character or a couple characters, whatever, and then suddenly you're spread out with all these characters, and you want to see your favorites more often, and it's just not happening. So yeah, I agree with that.
I don't know if I do.
Unless you like them all.
Well, I know. I really miss the Sky Melinda pair.
Yeah.
And because they're on 2 totally different mission teams right now, I miss that connection, and I really want them to get back to that, hopefully in the rest of season 3. I feel like they were really strong together, and I just like their dynamic a lot.
I do too.
Well, I think, and the reason why I disagree is I actually do think they're balancing it. What I really like about S.H.I.E.L.D. now, not so much in season 1, but as season 2 and season 3 have kind of developed, is that they're really focusing on their story. They're really telling a story, and these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are all cogs in that greater wheel, and the greater wheel story part is very enticing to me. Like, I think it's very intelligently written, very Whedon-esque in many ways. Even though it's more Jed than Joss, you can still tell there's that flavor to it. I think there will be a time when Sky and May, or Daisy and May now, come back together again. I think actually in the most recent episode there was a moment like that, because May was kind of off the grid for a second. We'll get to this, a little while later in this podcast, but May was off the grid for a second and then came back into the fold, and Daisy saw her and said, "Oh, May, you're back," and they hugged, and I think it just kind of goes with the flow of how the characters are doing and how the greater organization is doing. So I like actually the fact that all of the characters are serving some sort of purpose, and none of the purposes feel contrived or not in service to the overall story. But let's talk a little bit more about Season 2, because there were some major developments in Season 2 which have really informed Season 3, not the least of which, and a lot of the focus of Season 2, was Sky finding her real parents, which was one of her major goals in joining S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first season. She found her mother, who was played by Dyken Lockman from Dollhouse, and her father, who was played by Kyle MacLachlan, not from another Joss Whedon show,
but from everything on ABC.
Just a lot. He's been in Twin Peaks. He's been in Desperate Housewives. He's been in so many things. He's been in movies. He was in Believe most recently, Gone Too Soon, underrated show. NBC canceled. Thank you very much. I wrote about that on the blog. You can read it there. But we find her parents, and I found that story kind of awesome, actually. The whole story around the Inhumans and how that got introduced. What did you guys think about that?
By introducing her parents, that's when I really started to like Skye. I think that's when it kind of turned around for me a little bit. Her dad, Cal, is that correct? He was such this, I don't know how to put it, this crazy like guy just going around and slicing up the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and I don't know. I mean, it took a while for them to reveal why he was doing what he was doing, but man, he did not leave a good taste in my mouth the first couple of times we saw him. And
a little sociopathic.
I did not like him.
I mean, he was a brilliant. I like Kyle MacLachlan and everything that I've seen him in. So I liked that I didn't like him. He played it the right way.
Yeah. I agree with that. At first I did not like him. I was like, and I was just rooting for him to get better. There's got to be a reason why he's doing this and what's wrong with him and all that. So yeah. Definitely, that was probably when I got interested in liking Daisy, Skye, whatever you call her. That and her powers. I think it's cool. And ABC does a great job, by the way, on their special effects on that. And when she turned, what do you call it? When they become inhuman, or that whole thing.
Was it Targaryen?
Yeah, the
Targaryen. That's Game of Thrones.
I understand. It's something with it. It starts with a T.
What is something? But anyway,
the T.
Yeah, where they break out and they have their powers. For her specifically, I mean, it was just cool.
Yeah, that transformation scene was really cool.
It was really neat. I was like, oh,
yeah,
yes.
I liked that. That was a very visually stunning.
So
reveal.
I was like, okay, yeah.
Her mom was very interesting. I liked because it was Jiaying, correct? Jiaying, she played both sides of that coin really well, where she had those dual personalities. She wants Skye to see this warm, loving, woman who helps all the Inhumans because they can't use mutants because it's trademarked by Universal or whoever is making the movies beforehand. So she's helping the Inhumans transition, and oh, look how great she is. And then she's this conniving, real...
nasty.
Thank you. Yeah, it was very interesting to see that dichotomy, and then once she was revealed and trying to say that one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents shot her when she actually shot herself to start a war, and very manipulative, that one, but beautifully done. That's a very fine piece of acting right there.
I think she was also trying to convince Skye that she had good reason for giving her up and not taking her on. What do we think about Luke Mitchell, who now plays Lincoln? He started in season 2. He was in Jiaying's camp, if you will, and kind of acclimated Skye to not only being there, but also the discovery of her powers. And he was on the Tomorrow People.
Ah, that's where I know him from. Yeah. I was like the whole time, where have I seen him before? I've seen him somewhere. I hate that when that happens.
Yep, he played John, I believe, on the Tomorrow People, which I watched canceled again.
Yes.
But watched that whole season. It was pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good.
Right. What do we think about him and their burgeoning romance, which started in season 2, but has overlapped into season 3?
I want to like him. Okay. I mean, his character. I want to like him. And at first I did. But as of late into season 3, I'm not liking his attitude and everything. He's just so angry and quick to use his powers.
He's very quick to react in a negative way.
Yeah.
It's like I'm kind of in the same boat as you are, Jen. I really want to like Lincoln. I really liked him in season 2. I thought he was really sweet, and I wanted to like him so bad, but I want to keep yelling at the TV, just wait 5 more minutes before you electroshock your way out of a situation. It just seems like so many times if he wouldn't have been such in a rush to act, he would be way better off.
Yeah, people wouldn't be after him to...
But his world is all upended. That beautiful paradise where all the Inhumans were staying was decimated, and they're now being hunted all over by Lash, which we'll get to in a second.
Yes.
I mean, why? I feel some sympathy for the dude. I mean, plus this ACTU thing, or ATCU. We're also after him because they're hunting down the Inhumans as well, but a different reason. That still doesn't give you sympathy for the poor electricity man?
I want him to calm down a little bit.
That's all
I want him to start thinking a little more rationally.
Yeah.
I like him. I really want to like him. Just if Lincoln could be a little bit more rational in his decision making, I think we'd be there.
Like Skye. She tries to talk
she
it
does.
through.
And it's like, just listen to the
She
girl.
uses her powers last, and I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not going to listen?
Yeah. Then she'll manipulate.
That's the way I would like him to be. Maybe he'll get there with her help.
Right.
Maybe.
As long as she convinces him to come back to S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else about some other things that we saw in Season 2? So another big plot point, and we kind of alluded to it earlier, was the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D. became sort of a skeleton organization under Coulson after Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson, kind of bequeathed the organization to him in Season 1. But Hydra decimated so much of S.H.I.E.L.D., so Phil's kind of in charge over here, but then Edward James Olmos was kind of in charge of another S.H.I.E.L.D., which was a little confusing to me, actually.
Very confusing.
Because they were calling themselves the true S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I was like, what?
What?
I was very confused by that whole...
Yeah.
Did it ever click for you? Because it never clicked for me.
No, I had to rewatch some of those scenes, too. Because I'm like, did I hear this right? And I had to go back and like, okay, I think I'm following. But essentially, what I got from that storyline, if I can do a quick recap, it seems like when Hydra attacked the quote-unquote true S.H.I.E.L.D., was they were on that battleship, or the big, the big ship.
With Xena.
And when Hydra was attacking, they thought that everybody was compromised, including Coulson's team. So then they set up S.H.I.E.L.D., their S.H.I.E.L.D., acting like they were the only S.H.I.E.L.D. Then, oh, hey, here's Coulson's S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, he's obviously the bad guy because we're obviously the good guys. There's no way we could be fighting for the same cause here. When, in fact, they were.
But then Coulson had that cube thing.
Yeah.
And they sort of convinced May
that he was
hiding something.
Or he was compromised in some way. So she was being a double agent when she didn't need to be a double agent. And it was very confusing.
Yeah. And that Tahiti program comes back up in his face a lot.
That's what I thought. I thought maybe Coulson had been compromised because maybe something that happened in Tahiti with his brain and all that. You know, he was starting to see we're starting to see the effects that it had on him or something. You know, maybe that was it. But
and that's something that I had to go back and research was the Tahiti program. I just, for some reason, that didn't quite click for me when they were first introducing it at the guest house. I actually had to go on the S.H.I.E.L.D. Wikipedia contraption and really kind of dive in and remind myself, okay, what is this and what's the alien nationality that's in the tank and what's the point? That took a while.
That was in Season 1?
Season 1.
Season 1, and then it kept kind of popping up and coming up. I had to keep going back and...
The clairvoyant was tied to Tahiti.
That's right.
And Reno was the sort of the intermediary between all that and trying to manipulate Coulson because he had... What I can't remember or what is unclear to me is whether it was voluntary or involuntary that he was part of the Tahiti program.
I don't think they ever said whether he was or he wasn't, because I was wondering that too. I don't think they ever
I think
did.
it was voluntary when he signed up to head the program or to oversee it.
Yeah, if anything should happen.
Yeah, but I don't think it was voluntary when he became a subject of it.
Well, and then it took his memories, so he doesn't remember anything.
Yeah.
Except for these, in Season 1, that's kind of what it was, flashes and sort of some
and then that canned
behavior.
Response, how was Tahiti?
Right.
He had that canned response every time. Then that was what kind of triggered the clairvoyant to say, hey, you might want to look into that a little more.
Right. And so then we get into Season 2, and that comes back up again. I think they were assuming... It didn't translate very well to me or wasn't executed very well to me, this whole S.H.I.E.L.D. versus S.H.I.E.L.D. angle, only because I've watched all of the episodes, but I don't always binge watch them, and even the people sitting across from me right now who did binge watch it were confused, because I think they made reference to something in Season 1 without the necessary exposition to remind us all what it was and why we should be concerned with it. And then the cube itself ended up being very anticlimactic.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the cube ended up doing. I mean, that's how minuscule it seemed to me.
I think it just had Nick Fury's official orders with Coulson to take up S.H.I.E.L.D. and also had S.H.I.E.L.D.'s plans and things. bases. That's how they found Patton Oswalt and his many twins.
I love Patton Oswalt and his many twins. Can I change my favorite character to Patton Oswalt and the twins?
Sure.
Triplets.
Did he give you your lanyard yet?
No, I'm still waiting for that to come in the mail.
Oh, right.
But, dream someday is to visit one of his stations. I hope he keeps popping back up. I like that he's kind of a semi-recurring character. Like, as they need him, he's there to play another brother, and I really like, he just adds that little bit of extra humor when it's getting really serious.
He's a great actor. He's perfect for that.
And it seems like
too.
He's just doing it because he loves it. I mean, he guest starred on Dollhouse and everything.
That's right.
He was a couple there, and it seems like he just loves the show, or he loves Marvel, and he just wants to be a part of it. And I like when those actors are very passionate about little pet projects, and it shows.
So what do we think about Hydra as the villain? Because Hydra was the villain. And, I mean, they sort of rose, and fell. But they were kind of in the background still all throughout Season 2. How do we feel about Hydra and the many heads of Hydra? And we can sort of bridge this into a little bit of Season 3 with Ward's efforts to sort of resurrect it. What do we think about them? And their Nazi parallelisms, BS.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really glad I watched the Marvel movie series before I really started watching S.H.I.E.L.D. Because I feel without that exposition from the Captain America films, both 1 and 2, I don't think I would have really understood the magnitude of Hydra. I mean, they tried to allude to it, but I think they were also playing on the fact that most of their viewers would have watched all of the movies up until that point when Hydra was introduced, and then all through Season 2.
Hey, let's actually take a minute to take a poll on that amongst the three of us. What were you involved in Marvel-wise before picking up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? What have you seen or not seen?
I think the only one I haven't seen at this point is the Avengers Age of Ultron.
So the second Avengers.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I think the only thing I've seen is the Avengers.
Okay.
I may have seen more and just, can't think of it really. The comics. I'm a big comic book person, and I've been a Marvel comic book fan as well as DC, but for a long, long time.
Are you more Marvel or more DC?
Actually, it's DC, but
okay. Yeah, right. DC girl here too.
But the Marvels that I do like, the characters I do like, I stick with.
Okay.
So, like the Avengers and all that, but.
Well, for the record, I have only seen Captain America 1.
Oh, I have seen that.
Okay.
See, you jogged my mind.
I have not seen either the Avengers. I have not seen most of the individual Avengers movie chains. Because I'm more DC-oriented, talk to me about Superman, Batman, any of those. Maybe the X-Men. The X-Men are not part of this Avengers piece. I do know the X-Men, that's Marvel, and Spider-Man, that's also Marvel, but not so much the Avengers piece. So let me ask you, if you have or have not seen either one or both of the Avengers, do you need to watch those movies to appreciate Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or any of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I feel that it helps your appreciation. I don't think you necessarily have to have seen them, but I feel like they really draw on their fan base will have some sort of working knowledge either from reading the comics like Jen or watching the movies like myself.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I knew Hydra from the comics. And the Avengers, the first one. They really don't go into what Hydra. I mean, they kind of do what they're all about, but especially in the comics, they're like very prominent in the comics. So
Hydra is.
Yeah.
Okay. How does S.H.I.E.L.D. compare to some of these other Marvel properties for you?
I don't know. I mean, I always liked Agent Coulson when he would pop up, like in the Iron Man movies and the Avengers. They wrote him in such a way, at first he was just supposed to be a little bit character, like, oh, I'm from S.H.I.E.L.D. and here's what's going to happen. But then his fan base just kept growing exponentially with every time he made a reappearance that, oh, well, Agent Coulson is so popular, we need to cash in on this right now. And I feel like that was part of it, but I also know that Disney/Marvel, they're making supposedly an Inhumans movie. I believe it's going to be released either in 2018 or 2019.
Oh, wow.
And it will be based on Inhumans. So I don't know if this is kind of helping to lead up to that and really introduce the Inhumans on this level to like more of a general population to try to give the backstory for the movie. I'm not sure what the movie's going to be about. It's obviously a couple years away. But I did read on some awesome message boards, because I love to frequent those. People were wondering if Chloe Bennett or Skye may head up this Inhumans movie, since she's now trying to create this little Inhumans task force on the show. And with a lot of people being part of the love or hate Skye dichotomy, especially from season 1, by the time that the Inhumans movie comes out, she'll be acting for a long time, so her skills will be honed in, her character will be honed in, and Daisy could easily make the jump from the small screen to the big screen.
I think that's possible even now. When I didn't like her at first, I like her about as much as I didn't like her right now.
I really like her.
Yeah, I really like her too. She's grown a lot, and I think she would definitely, her character would grow by then. The one thing about Coulson is I'm having a hard time with him. It's not the character, it's the actor. I don't really care for him, and I know I've seen him in something else. I can't point out what it is, but I don't know what it is about him, but he just, I don't know.
I love him. I think he's adorable.
I think it's his talking, his speaking voice. It's monotone.
Okay. I think that's a delivery choice.
And it may well be, but I don't like the choice.
Wow, Jen brings out the controversy, because I think that's why he became the lead, because of this growing fan base of his bit parts. Clark Gregg.
And you're probably right. It is probably the delivery choice, because that character really, when you speak in a monotone, it's like you have no emotions. So, and I like a lot of emotions because I'm a very emotional person. But that character is not emotional. It is. That character is a pretty.
I think he's a very emotional character. He can be the queen of sass sometimes and snark, and he can get these little jabs in delivered in a very monotone way that I think
agree
are
with
hysterical.
That. He does.
He has his moments, and
it's the sadness or happiness isn't there a whole lot.
Well, let's food for thought, bridging on this. So in season 3, we'll try to transition now, season 2 to season 3. I'll set up some resolutions. But in season 3, he's got a little something going on with Constance Zimmer's character, who, her name is what? What's her name?
I know who you're talking. What is her character name? Or her actor name? That's
Constance Zimmer is her
character
real name.
But she's the leader of the ATC.
Yeah, she's the leader of ATC.
I mean, in the last episode I saw, they went to bed together. Little flirtation, and then had some.
Yeah, but that's not romantic.
Well, no, she's not on her part, but
I think he probably has fallen for her.
Yeah,
which begs that's the segue.
Yeah.
Well, but she's isn't her, because her husband ended up, he was sick. He died of cancer. Yeah. And I think once he found out her reason for capturing the Inhumans, because she's trying to cure them, spoiler. Big spoiler. I think that's when it really flipped for Coulson. I think he enjoyed having that little flirtation back and forth with her, but then I think once he discovered her more compassionate side, I think he was done for.
And I thought it was an emotional delivery, particularly when he realized that she had more altruism behind her agenda than he initially estimated.
Yeah.
Because he got real soft, and there was a little more smiling.
And when she helped him tie his tie, I thought that was sweet.
Yeah, that was true. That was. Yeah. I did think that.
I'm still angry that they decided to chop off Coulson's hand.
Yes, I
felt like that was unnecessary.
Although it kind of gives him a little bit of a power, kind of, like he can crush anything with that iron hand.
But what if he was inhuman?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I'm just waiting for him to come out with powers or be inhuman.
And Mac made that choice. It was Mac, correct, who made the chop. But Mac made the choice for Coulson. Instead of taking the chance of does he live or does he die, we're just going to stop this right now. It's like...
Let's talk about season 2's finale, because it's set up, I'm going to use Kristen's favorite word, a few dominoes for season 3. So, of course, first of all, I thought the resolution with Skye or Daisy and her parents was truly beautiful.
Yeah, when she said goodbye to her dad at the veterinary office that he set up in Milwaukee, I thought that was so fitting.
Or that his dad actually killed his mom to kind of stop all of the insanity.
To stop it's like he made the sacrifice to stop more violence from happening and more hatred from spreading, but the fact that they used they used Tahiti on her dad for a greater purpose. I thought that was such a fitting end for him. He got his happy ending, even though it was without his daughter.
I would agree, but in that, I thought it was really sad because I kind of wanted that relationship to kind of be, like a father-daughter way. I kind of wanted, but it needed to, end like that. So
and there's no, and just because he currently doesn't have his memories, it doesn't mean that he won't regain them at some point in the future if they want to make that.
Oh, on Josh shows, we all know things can come back.
They can come back.
They do come back.
So we also talked about, Coulson was able to take down Hydra, the 2 S.H.I.E.L.D. units integrated. Now they're kind of one S.H.I.E.L.D., a little bit bigger. Let's talk about Agent May. She left for a little period, and it started in the season 2 finale, and only just turned around in this last episode we saw for season 3. So what do you think about that? Because that kind of set up something major with husband Andrew, played by Blair Underwood.
I actually thought when the season 3 started, the first episode, I was like, did I miss something? Where's May? Where what happened? Like I had to go back and watch, and I'm caught on. But I I won't say anymore because it's going to lead into
I did
something else.
Yeah, I felt it was nice that she was going to take the break with Andrew and reconnect and try to find more of that work-life balance while focusing more on her personal life in the interim. I was happy to see that for her, but I will say in the beginning of season 3, it was nice to see her with both of her parents. I thought that dynamic
that was sweet.
With her parents was a highlight, especially her mother. Her mother, I don't have words for that, but that was perfect. The casting is great. The writing is great. That moment with her mom in the minivan was pretty cool.
Or perhaps one of the biggest dominoes in that season 2 finale, Simmons gets sucked into that alien portal and ends up on a completely different planet for the first 3 or 4 episodes. In fact, they devoted an entire 3rd season episode to her time on that planet. Just as she and Fitz were about to go on a long-promised date. What did we think about that?
I was upset at first, but then I was like, where did she go? What's going to happen to her? Is she going to come back inhuman, have powers? Where is she go to an alien world? Where
especially since she was kind of on the anti-inhuman warpath towards the end of season 2, that I was starting to get a little ticked at her. She's seen and she's done so much, and now she really wants to shut that whole thing down. And so, of course, the Blackstone portal chooses her to suck in. Of course it does. I was kind of like, good. If she goes up on an alien world, maybe she'll get some smarts and change her mind and be a little more accepting of these other people. Sorry, I'm very much equality for all over on the side of the table, Inhumans included. But the season 3 episode that was devoted to her story on that alien planet was one of my favorites so far.
Mine too.
I loved that it was mostly her, and she was talking into her phone, pretending that she was, first it was very scientific, day 1, I'm on this new planet, we're making her recordings for, scientific purposes, and then it switched to her talking to Fitz like it was a diary entry and watching the video of Fitz over
That's what I liked.
over and over.
That the fact every time she was recording, it was to Fitz. And, after the scientific stuff, you started to see, she does really have strong
really
feelings
for Fitz
for him.
It's like, okay, she won't stay there too long. They'll bring her back, and they'll have their date, and, okay, it's been a couple months, oh, crap. But I was happy that they gave Gemma that experience. I feel like she needed some character development, and that was a really good way to do it.
That was one of my favorite episodes too. Is you start to see another side to her. At first, it's the same old Gemma, but you start to see this other side to her and everything. So it was, I really liked that.
Okay. And now it's interesting too that now she's, spoilers, back home. It's interesting to see how she's changed since that journey. It's not just her opinions on things, but it's her whole personality has changed, and now she has kind of this new focus and a new mission that she feels like she needs to accomplish, and she's, I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see where they're going with her now.
Well, let's talk about season 3. We kind of covered season 2. I think we've mentioned all the the major resolutions and things that have happened. We didn't really talk about Bobby's near death because Ward shot Bobby, if you recall.
But she's fine.
She's fine. She recovered.
She'll live to kick ass another day.
Hunter and her are now kind of
seeing each other
again. They're very on and off again, married and not married again. I don't know that I feel very much personally for the Bobby character. I'm sure she kicks ass in the comics, but
she does
in the TV show, I'm not super attached to her.
She's kind of my least favorite character, actually.
Yeah.
And it's not because Adrienne Palicki is doing a bad job with her.
No.
It's just I feel like the way she was introduced and so far the story arc she's been progressed upon hasn't really allowed me to connect with her as I've connected with some of the other characters.
Do you think that might be in part that they were trying to pilot shop a spinoff with her and Trip, and then that was not picked up by ABC?
I did not know that.
Oh. Yeah, there was talk, I believe it was last year, that they were going to take Bobby, and I believe it was Trip, and kind of show their earlier days in S.H.I.E.L.D., like before they went and infiltrated Hydra. Because those characters are so popular, they really wanted to build upon that mini little franchise. And at first, I think it did get the go-ahead from ABC to do a pilot, and then before they started shooting, they said, no, one show is enough. So I don't know if they were anticipating that, so they kind of had to do some course correction that now she's going to be on the show for a while longer, or I'm not sure if that's made an influence or not.
Well, I don't know. I didn't know she was that popular, to be quite honest with you.
I think it's more, like Jen said, like her character is so powerful in the comics.
In the comics, she's much different.
Having her own vehicle would have been...
She's right up there with Skye. Like, she's powerful. She's not inhuman, but she's definitely, like I said, kicks ass. Like, she's this character that is different.
Okay.
And that's why I want to like her. I do like her, but maybe if they gave her more time.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Mission thing, goal.
Yeah. Well, maybe now that her rehab is kind of completed in season 3.
Yeah, we did just see in the last episode her and May kind of go on a chasing after Ward mission, and they both kind of did the martial arts thing to the T. And I think there's some truth to that, with time probably. But I didn't know about this pilot, and now they've killed off Trip, so much for that idea. But I don't know that would have sustained anyway.
Yeah,
that just seems too backdoor. And usually when you spin off, you do take a fairly cemented, fairly well established character and send them off on their own. So I don't know, but I don't know if that affected it or not. All I know is that of all the characters, I really like Hunter because he's funny. I don't hate them together, and I don't really hate her. She's just my least favorite, and I think it's really what progression they've taken her on up until now. But let's talk about how do we feel season 3 is going so far. And again, for the listeners out there, this will be major spoilers. We're about 6 episodes in as of the day of this recording. So how do you feel about how things are going? We've kind of got Coulson versus the ATCU and this Constance Zimmer character who I think is being manipulated by a former or a current Hydra person. Who is Powers Booth playing? I don't understand that guy.
I don't either.
He just kind of, is there and needling Ward and saying, you're a whippersnapper, but I'm not really sure what his full role is right now. And maybe that has yet to be revealed.
Yeah, because they really haven't spent a lot of time in the Hydra storyline or the rebuilding of Hydra storyline so far this season. I think that'll probably come up on more of like a cliffhanger needed basis.
I'm waiting for ATCU is going to be Hydra, like the old Hydra is what I'm thinking, because they have, I don't know, similar kind of goals, that just seem like, some things seem so shady about that girl, the whatever character's name is.
I can't remember.
I can't think of what it is.
I know.
She's a great actress.
She's very great. Great chemistry with Clark Gregg.
I think they have ulterior motives, definitely. I think she's lying about a lot, of course, but...
Well, that's basically what everybody in S.H.I.E.L.D. besides Coulson is saying right about now, that she's lying, and why are we working
Rosalind Price.
Rosalind Price,
yes.
Thank you, Google. Yeah, it's interesting, because now that we realize that she's kind of keeping the Inhumans in stasis until a cure can be found... I don't know. Now that you say that, maybe
I think
she's part of
make
Hydra.
them into soldiers, like turn them evil and make them her army.
So her whole husband's dying of cancer sob story was more just to gain some sympathy.
It could be, or it could have happened. That could have really happened.
I'm thinking that it probably really happened, but I'm thinking maybe she's twisting it just to justify, this is why they're here. It's not because we're turning them into evil, an evil army.
Yeah.
We're here to help them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Could be.
I'm going to start looking at it in a new lens now.
Maybe.
It's kind of interesting because I'm enjoying the verbal byplay between apparently Ms. Price and Coulson's characters. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. That reveal came out in the last episode that she's kind of talking with this other guy. This is the same guy talking with Ward, and Ward's trying to rebuild what is known as Hydra. I'm a little confused by that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I think their ATCU is really Hydra.
Yeah, because I don't think Ward's Hydra is going to be a big player. He seems He seems a little unhinged with everything that's been happening to him. So even if he does build some semblance of Hydra, I don't think it's going to be as big of a threat as it was when it first made the big reappearance in earlier seasons.
So what do you think's going to happen to Ward? Because he is kind of a whippersnapper in many ways. He's got a lot of
I think he's got a lot of
ambition.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a lot of follow through or ways to accomplish his big ideas. At least not right now. I don't think he has the resources and the funding to really make a go at it.
Well, plus he's a lot of ego and not a
lot of
substance.
A lot.
What do we think about Lash? Because really that's the bigger enemy, and that's what S.H.I.E.L.D. and ATCU are sort of uniting under right now.
I was so upset.
I know!
When there was the big reveal.
So, major spoiler of the whole episode right now, ... is that it turns out that Andrew is Lash. He was exposed to the same alien dust, apparently from Jia Ying's journal. She kept a register of the Inhumans. And then he was one of the people that actually transformed, because not everybody who's exposed to this dust transforms. Many of them die. Okay? But he transformed, and he turned into this huge... He kind of reminds me of the Beast from X-Men, except he's got these huge spiky dreadlock-looking things. And his whole purpose in life, at least according to him, is to eradicate Inhumans, to make the world safer, I guess. But not Skye.
For some reason, not Skye, which I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay, I was going to ask you, what do you think about that?
Why he doesn't, go after her.
I don't know.
Maybe it could have been that he didn't go after her because he didn't want to blow his cover, but then she wouldn't be alive to say, I don't know, to say who it was.
I have no idea.
I don't know. There's probably something. There's probably going to be something that comes out between the two of them. I don't know what it is, but... Because even their abilities aren't anything alike at all. Like, he has kind of like Lincoln's. Doesn't he have, like, electricity or cold? Or
no, it's more like he opens some sort of vortex.
Oh, is that what it does?
Yeah.
I thought I saw him shooting stuff out of his hands. Maybe not.
Vortex energy. It's almost like he opens a black hole.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He does, yeah.
And whereas I think Lincoln is much more straightforward electricity.
Yeah.
Terrigen crystals.
Terrigen.
I know I was not close. Targaryen.
That was close. I knew that wasn't the right word, but I was using it as a springboard. I knew it was a...
I'm just saying, they're not cribbing from Daenerys. That's all I'm saying.
Terrigen crystals, yes. Yeah, it took me a minute. I actually went back and rewatched, because when they made that reveal, I was like, wait, has he always been this way, or is this a new development? Again, I'm not a comic book reader, so... Yeah.
But his one, I don't remember him in the comics. I mean, he might be there, maybe in the newer series. Maybe. I haven't read any of the newer stuff, really. Like the new stuff. But
yeah, I don't know. I think Skye/Daisy is still a little bit more special, even as Inhumans go. And I'm not exactly sure why that might be right now. I have no idea. I mean, she wasn't special per se before the exposure to the crystals. But
could it be that maybe she's special because she was one of the first ones in recent history to be exposed?
Possibly, or maybe because she is descended from at least one parent that has that ability. I don't know that any of the new Inhumans have sort of this genetic marker. She had a genetic marker, as did Rhaena.
I was going to say, in the comics, she was born as an alien.
Okay.
And was left on Earth by her mother.
Now that may be a major spoiler, Jen.
I don't know. But it's a little bit...
That's what we're going to find out, is that she's in fact an alien.
I can't remember.
But then how does Lash figure into that?
I don't know.
Could it be because of Andrew's relationship with Skye?
That's true.
That somewhere in his subconscious he doesn't want to hurt her. I mean, he doesn't want to hurt May either, which is why...
Yeah, but May's not a human. He wouldn't hurt her.
Right.
He's only going after
right now,
humans.
but eventually he will be able to turn back.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's
to his human
transitional.
form. He's transitioning. So
Unless they put him in stasis.
Yeah.
But that's true.
Which is probably where they're headed towards.
Which
I mean, Blair Underwood probably can't be on a lot of episodes.
Yeah. Well,
he's a busy guy.
He's in demand.
Also a fine looking man.
Since his Sex and the City days.
So what do we think about, we've already kind of talked a little bit about it, the episode with Fitzsimmons going to this other planet, but the major thing that we kind of said we'll talk about later in this episode is that when she went to this other planet, she found, well, first of all, to set this up, we find out that the portal, or a portal of its type, has already been explored by some society that goes back centuries. So people on Earth have been aware of this conduit to this alien planet for hundreds of years. And as such, we find out that perhaps early 2000s or 90s or something
early
like that.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. He is a voluntary explorer, if you will, that goes through this portal, but then ends up getting trapped there because there's no way to get back, really. And this new planet is somewhat hostile. They land on one of the poles, so they never see the sun. There's some weird, presence out on the desert, because it's kind of a big desert. The plant life and food available is very scarce. The water is very scarce. And Gemma finds this man, and, even though she clearly loves Fitz, when she's stuck there, she thinks it's a pretty permanent thing, and they sort of, I think, fall in love. And which has greatly complicated things, because when Fitz was able to go through the portal, find the way to open it, go through the portal, ends up pulling her out, and then they destroy the portal, that has added a certain amount of romantic complication to them. How do we feel about that, truly, that love triangle?
I can't blame Gemma. I mean, she's stuck on this other place with this guy who's good looking.
And not that much older than her.
Right.
Within reason.
So why not, And then when you're suddenly rescued, at first my reaction would be, no! Go back!
Yeah, my first thought was, Will, what's going to happen to Will?
Yeah, you know what, you don't know what's happening. But now I think she's genuinely confused about her feelings. I mean, I know she wants to help. If there's a way to get back there and get him out of there, of course she's going to want to do that. But I think she has feelings and loves Fitz, but then again, what happens if they did save this guy, if he's still even alive, and, get him back to Earth, what is she going to feel then? I'd be confused, I think.
Well, I think she is very confused, but how sweet is it that Fitz is actually loves her enough to try to help her bring this guy back?
Yeah.
Hunter's basically saying, oh yeah, help the other man. That's real good.
Yeah.
That's
I think it's very gentlemanly of Fitz, but it's also, I think it kind of taps into their very scientific minds too. It's okay, I opened it once, I bet you we can open it again. So I think that will happen. I think that they will rescue Will. Especially, the shot of him at the very end of the episode, just going on his way. He's still there, and I think he's really going to feel Gemma's absence.
Yeah.
He was alone for years, and then all of a sudden this cute girl comes along. Oh crap, now she's gone again.
And he's survived this long. It
think
stands to
he'll be
reason
fine.
he'll probably be still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes this season actually was in this last episode when Fitz repaired her SIM card and listened to all of her recordings.
Yeah.
And we got more of the recordings because we only got snippets before, and it just was very heartbreaking.
He kind of got that full realization of what she was going through, and he even was tearing up a little bit, and he was getting the full emotional impact of her time away.
To be honest with you, that's the storyline I'm most interested in right now.
Me too.
Maybe it's the romantic in me, but I also think it's because Fitz is my favorite.
I have to say, he's right up there. He's probably one of my favorite ones. I really, more and more I watch the show, I start to really like him.
And I just think that not only is the romance going to get complicated, but anything that Will brings back, because he's got this information about this other society and all their knowledge. And I'm wondering if maybe this alien portal is to the so-called Kree planet.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because that's the
origin of the Terrigen crystals.
Yeah. And the blue alien in the Tahiti thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I'm most interested in right now. I'm a little less interested in the Hydra piece myself. I think Ward is kind of an annoyance more than anything. He's just kind of a reason to give Hunter and Bobby something to do, because Hunter's very vengeance-oriented right now. All of S.H.I.E.L.D. wants to bring him in, but I have no connection to that between the fact that he's kind of doing all this egotistical, I'm going to raise up Hydra and defeat S.H.I.E.L.D. and wahaha, and then this other nebulous man over on the side that's telling him he's a whippersnapper. I'm just a little confused and less interested with that. But they have a way of twisting and turning and making it interesting anyway. Any other thoughts that you have about this season or any of the first 2 seasons that we talked about? If you are a Whedon fan, how would you rate Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the pantheon of Whedon shows?
Well, give us an easy question. I've never watched Angel, so I know. Okay, when Buffy was going on, I liked Buffy, but I wasn't hardcore into Buffy.
Okay.
I have not watched all of Buffy. I've watched probably 80%.
I watched it twice.
It's one of my favorite shows. I've watched it several times.
Mine too.
But I do, I like Buffy. I love Firefly, and I really like Dollhouse. I also love Much Ado About Nothing, but that's a movie.
It is a movie. But talking about series.
Yeah, I don't know where this one kind of ranks. I don't think it's my absolute favorite. I mean, I could live without watching it, but I don't know where it ranks within the whole Whedon canon, if you will.
It's probably lower because, Buffy and Angel and Dollhouse, I got into those straight away. Mm-hmm. It didn't take, when I found out this is actually, Joss and Jed. Jed. Anyway, Joss, I didn't know it was them. I was shocked because I didn't get into it right away. I had all the other shows that I'd watched. And yeah, it's probably I love the show now, but it's probably, as far as these other shows, I don't know, because now I'm really liking it, but it just took a while to get me to this point. So compared to all the other ones, I don't think it'd be a series that I would watch over and over again like I did with Buffy and Angel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I have to agree. I would probably rate it a little bit higher than Dollhouse. Dollhouse for me was also a slow starter. I remember thinking, okay, this is an interesting conceit, but I'm not really buying it, except it lived on the bubble so long that they started to throw everything they had, and then the plot really ramped up.
It went from 0 to 60 in no time flat.
Exactly.
It was very awkward.
And it resolved fine. Eliza Dushku, of course, was Faith in the Buffy Angel series, and, I don't mind her. But I like the story of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. better than Dollhouse. Firefly, I love Firefly. It was so quirky and different. I don't know if you can compare, especially since Fox, famously canceled it to the chagrin of millions. But I don't think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. can rate over Buffy or Angel. I think that is the crowning achievement. And Angel really is the spin-off of Buffy, but it had its own character, its own timbre, its own tone, a different energy. That one actually was a little clunky in the first season, too.
It was a little bit. But it stood. It stood on its own. A lot of spin-offs don't.
That's true.
It did.
And it ended beautifully. Even though it got canceled, they were prepared for it, and it was, I think, one of the better series finales of these various shows. But I do like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think time will tell, perhaps, where it falls in the true pantheon, although I will say I like it better than Dollhouse. I think Dollhouse is my least favorite. But that's only because I think, again, that's how Fox treated it and how they responded to it more than anything. Anything else that you want to say about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. seasons 1 through 3, but particularly 2? We kind of recapped a lot. But if you think about it, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not so very episodic. It's more serial, so you can talk about big chunks at a time.
I don't miss Raina.
Yeah, I don't miss her either.
I don't miss her either.
No.
I didn't mind her at first, like when she was initially introduced.
When she was just a girl in the flower dress, just popping up every so often.
But she was definitely overused, and her whole jealousy of Sky thing
that was
a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so she wants to be special. I'm done with her.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to be special here, look like a blowfish. Then
I know.
Special.
And then she whined for a long time. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, be careful what you wish for. That's your lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Raina either.
Yeah. Did I mention that I missed Trip? Because I really missed Trip.
I liked him. I did.
Yeah. I like Trip too.
Yeah.
But we have, many more episodes on this season to go. And we're probably due pretty shortly for a mid-season hiatus. So if anything truly earth-shattering comes out on that, you'll be sure that we'll talk again about it. I think with that said, I'm going to end the current Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. The question I always ask at the end is, are you going to keep watching?
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Me too! I mean, I gotta know how it ends.
Well, I definitely want to see where this ATCU thing goes, and Rosalind, and all of that, and
Fitzsimmons.
And Fitzsimmons.
Yeah, Fitzsimmons is really the main reason I'm hanging on right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I like it, but it's not like I need to watch this. Like I am with some of my other shows. Like this one, I'm just kind of like, oh, it's on my DVR. Oh, I can wait a couple more days.
That's true. So, It's appointment television, but I mean, I don't watch anything in real time anyway. I always come back on the streaming services, but I don't know. I still, it's not addictive. It's not addictive. I think that's
it's very good, but I'm not addicted to it.
I think even some of the other Whedon shows were more addictive than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's still very good. It's very good sci-fi. It's good comic book adaptation, I think. So with that said, I want to thank Kristen and Jen for joining me on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast panel. As we mentioned in the introduction, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. currently airs on Tuesdays at 9 p.m., and it is a September to May show. So keep tuning in and watching the show, and then tell us what you think about either the show or the podcast episode that you are listening to right now. Check us out on the blog. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. Maybe some other social media things will crop up. Who knows? We're just growing all the time here at CPU! But I'd like, again, to thank Jen and Kristen for their participation today. Keep listening. Keep watching. Keep looking out for us on YouTube, the blog, or iTunes. This is Kylie. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.